You gotta listen to this next segment. Lauren Sergi is a speaker, writer, coach, and trainer on public speaking and communication. Her new book, The Handy Communication Answer Book, is looking to help its readers communicate effectively in so many venues, whether it's online, social media, to your friends and family, to your kids, and in your workplace. Thank you so much for joining us,
Thank you
Lauren.
for having me.
All right, lots to unpack in this book.
Yeah.
This is almost like life for dummies, because this is communicating in all aspects of your life. We're going to start with the workplace. Some common mistakes on people communicating coworker to coworker.
A lot of common mistakes there is that people are looking to make their coworker understand what they're saying. You have to understand my point. You have to get what I'm saying, instead of looking to understand where their coworker is coming from first. Because if you look where someone's coming from first, and if you figure out what their worldview is and how they're thinking about their problems, what you're able to do is pick the way that you present your arguments and say, okay, here's the angle that I really need to approach it from their standpoint. What they think is the most important issue here isn't what I thought was the most important issue. And if you don't try to look at things from their perspective, you won't actually figure out necessarily what issue to tackle when you're arguing something with them.
How do you deal with an angry coworker?
The angry coworkers, yes, and it can either be simmering, seething resentment or just coming up with full anger. The first thing to do is to let them talk. Let them do the majority of talking. Ask them questions about what it is they're concerned about. That aspect of showing that you're listening to someone.
Because it's really hard not to get your back up.
It's really, really hard not to get your back up. And when I'm approaching a situation where I'm dealing with people who are riled up or who are angry, I try to distance myself personally from it. So if I'm thinking about the context, if I'm thinking they're yelling at me, what I'll think instead is they're yelling, they're angry. Instead of they're angry at me, I did something wrong. They're angry, this thing happened, and they don't like it. And once I distance myself from it, I can see what they're trying to get at instead of taking it as a personal attack. It takes practice, and you kind of want to breathe your way through it so you settle down yourself, but it really works out, and you give them the chance to say what is wrong and really, really express what's bothering them. Then they understand that you're there to solve a problem instead of having a fight.
Okay, let's talk about emails. Common mistakes, reply all. Maybe one of them. You actually have it disabled, which is pretty funny. How do you check your tone, and how do you know when you should be calling instead of emailing?
Okay, for the calling instead of emailing, let's look at that one right away. If you've got more than just a couple of topics that you want to speak about, so maybe you have 4 or 5 points that you need the person to answer to, that is too much in an email. It gets lost in the response. So at that point, pick up the phone. And a basic rule that I have for myself is that if it would take me longer than 2 to 5 minutes to write or read the email, that's time for a phone call. You will save so much time. Or if you think there needs to be back and forth, if you're trying to clarify something, do it on the phone, because then you can check for understanding in real time. As far as checking your tone goes,
I know it's tough.
Oh, it's really, really tough. Speak it out loud. That's one of the big things, is because when we read something, we actually do hear it in our heads. There's this really interesting thing going on in the brain where you can hear the words that are being spoken. And when you're listening to that, you're loading it with your own meaning, with your own context. As soon as you say something out loud, you'll hear differences. You're like, oh, wait a minute, that word doesn't sound so good as it does when I read it. Or, oh, I could see how someone might take this the wrong way. And then try reading it with different inflections. So if I was irritated, what would this sound like? If I was having a bad day. If I was having a great day, what would this sound like? And then vary your tone and play with the email. Don't need to do this all the time, but if it's a really touchy email, I strongly recommend that.
All right, we're going to have Lauren back on very soon because we've run out of time talking about public speaking, and she actually has scripts for certain events, like how to deliver a eulogy or how to speak at a wedding or how to be master of ceremonies. Some great stuff in this